Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Ready, Set, Replay, the podcast where we relive your childhood. I'm Daniel, and I'm joined by my best friend, Skyler.
Hello.
Since this is the first episode of us doing this, I figured it's probably a good idea for us to actually explain what we're doing, because it might be confusing for some people. So basically, we are playing through retro games in a sort of loose chronological order, starting with games from the year 2000, and we'll play obviously games from that year, but not necessarily in the exact order that they came out. And then we'll do 2001 and 2002 and so on and so forth. Now, there will also be times, like today, when either we'll go back to play something older or jump forward, just based kind of on what we feel makes the most sense at the time. So nothing's like completely set in stone. It's just a loose guideline for how we're planning on replaying these games. And on that note, for this first episode, we're talking about Rare's 1998 legendary mascot platformer, Banjo Kazooie.
What a good place to start.
Oh yeah, 100%. Honestly, if you look at a lot of YouTube channels, they sort of got their start talking about specifically games from the N64 and even more so specifically Banjo. So we're kind of following a trend that I didn't know existed until it was too late. But yes, obviously 1998, not the year 2000. But its sequel, Banjo Tooie, did come out in the year 2000, and I felt like we couldn't really talk about Tooie without having also talked about Kazooie, because there's so much of like, well, in this one it does that, but in this one it does this new thing. So, but before we talk about Banjo Kazooie, I want to throw your mind back to the time when it came out, okay? Enter your mind palace, Skyler.
I'm already there.
So it's June 29th, 1998. We are 3 and 4 years old, I'm pretty sure.
Little babies.
America is right in the middle of dealing with the Bill Clinton-Monica Lewinsky scandal.
Nice.
Yes. Honestly, looking back on it, not the worst thing that's ever happened to a president.
No, I could go for some of that these days.
Wouldn't mind it. Sex and the City has just premiered on HBO. Its first episode came out on June 6th.
Ooh.
So that would soon become everyone's mom's favorite show.
I don't think my mom likes that show.
Your mom's more of a nerd than most moms.
Yeah.
The Truman Show and Mulan are at the top of the box office.
Very nice. Those are good movies.
Yeah. Does Mulan count as a Disney princess? I know there's some debate of it because she's not like technically royalty.
She's not a princess. You know what? I love this. Episode 1 already off topic.
Yeah, 100%.
She's not a princess, and in the sequel that was like straight to video, she does stay with what's his name? Shang, right?
I'm pretty sure
But
it's either Shang or Shen. It's something like that.
He's not a prince. He's a general. So no.
Yeah.
I mean, they put her on all like the princess like the packaging. They put her next to the other princesses, but she's not a princess. She's a warrior.
Do you think it's more important to Disney's classification of what is and is not a Disney princess that you are the main character of the movie? Because Meg is also not a princess, but is usually not considered a Disney princess, even though I think she is, because she's not the main character.
I think what's most important is you could sell the doll to the girls. If the girls will buy it, then we put the character on it,
That makes sense. But I feel like that would also now mean that Rey Star Wars is a Disney princess, technically.
Yeah, she's not no, she's not a princess.
She's a Skywalker. That makes her Star Wars royalty.
Yeah, okay. I mean, Leia is a Disney princess.
True, and she's her not daughter. So
yeah,
how does that work?
Anyway,
so was it Billboard Top 100? Number 1 is "The Boy Is Mine" by Brandy and Monica. Do you even remember this song?
I remember the name of that song. I don't remember. I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head how it goes.
I'm not going to sing it for you because A, I can't sing, and B, copyright probably.
Yeah,
because I mean, clearly I'm a good enough singer that it would.
You would sing it so on key.
100%. Yeah.
That the bots would just flag us immediately.
Yeah. And I can't have that. Not on episode 1.
No.
Hit me up episode 100, and I'll come back to this, and I will sing "The Boy Is Mine."
Sure.
But more importantly, and more relevant to probably our knowledge of music, "Everybody" by Backstreet Boys is number 6.
Yeah.
And I have a trivia question for you because I watched the music video for this in preparation. And first of all, did you know that "Everybody" is like a Halloween song? The music video is like a Monster Mash Haunted Mansion ripoff thing.
I had no idea. No, I've never seen the music video.
Okay, so I'm gonna send you.
You watched the music video for that in preparation for this, for our Banjo Kazooie discussion.
Yeah, I wanted to get into the mindset of 1998. It was very important, and to do that, I had to watch the Everybody music video by Backstreet Boys because it was number six.
No, I love the commitment. That's great.
I will always do too much and also too little all at the same time. That's my promise.
That's what we're here for. We're setting a good precedent.
But here, I pulled a picture for you. I'm dropping it in our chat. So they all dress up in awful Halloween costumes for this music video.
Okay.
What you're going to be looking at here is from left to right in your picture, you're seeing Howie Duro dressed as the crappiest vampire in a super tall top hat.
He looks like he's supposed to be Gary Oldman from Bram Stoker's Dracula. Not the when he's really old part at the beginning, but when he's, I don't want to say sexy, but maybe. Yeah, top hat, and he's like looking at Winona Ryder from across the street. See me. You do that whole bit?
Yeah. Very importantly, like the high school stalker version of that character.
I already see the theme here, because next, who is that as the Phantom of the Opera?
So we've got AJ McLean as the Phantom of the Opera. They really did a lot of work on the burn makeup.
Yeah,
then you've got, they really went a little hard on that, probably harder than they needed to. Then we've got Nick Carter as a mummy who kind of just looks like he's been in a motorcycle accident.
I can't help but notice, as this is being presented to me, that the next picture is not the last picture, but it is censored, and I'm a little worried about that.
Yeah. We'll get there. And the last one that you've got there is Kevin Richardson Brian Littrell as the Wolfman.
Oh, yeah, as a Wolfman, yeah.
And absolutely terrible. So looking at these really bad costumes, can you guess what the last member of Backstreet Boys, Kevin Richardson, is dressed as?
Well, it's gotta be Frankenstein's monster, going off of the theme here.
That would make a lot of sense.
Oh my god, it's not?
But it's not. Not even a little bit.
Oh my god, the creature from the Black Lagoon? Maybe?
You know what? Here's the thing: is I'm going to send you the picture, and you're going to think you're right. But according to the breakdown of the video, you are not. Kevin Richardson is dressed as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but the version that he has decided to go with is like a face-off, sexy Halloween version of like a reptile fish man, where half of his face is painted in blue scales.
You know what he looks like? This is kind of a deep cut to many childhoods of people our age.
Yeah.
He looks like the rainbow fish. You remember that book?
He does look like the rainbow fish!
He looks like the rainbow fish, dude!
He looks exactly like the rainbow fish. That's more on point than it should be.
That's crazy.
It's also by far like the least garbage costume.
Well, he's the important one.
Like, he showed up and was like, "We're doing the thing, right?" And then he saw the Wolfman and was like, "I paid so much for this makeup. I paid so much for this. Brian, why?"
The mummy's got to be... the mummy and the Wolfman are tied for the worst ones, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Nick Carter was going through some stuff for his entire life, so I'll give him a pass. But, like, ugh. It's a bad costume.
Wow. All right, this has got me in the right mindset.
Right. Okay. Oh, good. This was my plan.
Bear and bird.
Right. So Banjo Kazooie then. So I replayed it for specifically this video. This is now the second time that I've played it, and I didn't play it at all during my childhood. Right. The first time I played it was during COVID, so like 2, maybe 3 years ago. I don't remember exactly.
I have also replayed it for this, and that's a big part of this series. It's an excuse for us to go back and log all these games and have like recorded thoughts on them. So yeah, I replayed it for this. I have played this game a lot, but I will admit, not as a child as a lot of people will have.
Right.
I didn't played this game until like early high school, I think. I was not a Nintendo kid growing up, I'll admit that. I love Nintendo now, and some of my favorite series are Nintendo. I say about this Microsoft game.
Well, at the time it was a Nintendo
yes,
game.
At the time it was on the... My point is, I got my N64 from a pawn shop when we were in high school, probably around 2010-ish,
really?
Somewhere in there.
So you didn't play Banjo until high school?
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
see, I
I
was
did
under
not.
the impression that you played it like not as a kid, but maybe like middle school.
No, I did not. It was a couple years after that.
Because you definitely have more of a history with this game than me. I feel like you play it what like once a year ish.
Yeah, so that's my thing with this game is I consider the first half of this game to be very pick up and play
Yeah.
until you hit a certain point where you're just like, I don't want to go to that world. I'm done. And then I'll see you next year for the replay, I guess. So I do kind of tend. I always have this game installed on my Xbox. Yes, I play it on Xbox. I'm sorry, but yeah, it
It's just
doesn't
the
take up a lot of
easiest way
space,
to
so I
get
just
to
keep
it
it
at this
installed.
point.
I do have it on the N64, and I have 2E for the N64 as well, which we'll be talking about later eventually.
Yeah. Have you like played through it on N64 or just like have toyed around with it?
Yeah, I played through it on N64.
Okay, because I know that it's important to note we did just to clarify, we did both play it on the 360 version, right? Like for this playthrough.
For this, yes.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is to me, what always makes me when I'm like, ooh, I want to play Banjo. I'm gonna go back to Banjo, and then I think like I could dust off my N64 and snap the cartridge in. But one of the key differences in the two versions that I always think of is when you die in the 64 version, you lose all your notes and you
Yeah.
have to just collect them all over again.
So you lose all of your notes and all of your Jinjos. The only thing you keep are the jiggies and I guess the honeycombs.
Yeah. And whenever I think of that, I'm like, no,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah, like I'm just trying to hang out. I don't need to put myself up to that. Because apparently when they originally did it for the N64, they wanted you to view the notes as like kind of your score for that level and to like keep going back and trying to one up yourself, I guess.
Sure, that makes sense.
That's weird to me though, because I feel like you really do need to have all of them by the end of the game to like unlock all of the power-ups and stuff.
Yeah,
for the fight.
If you want to finish the game, like I think to look at this game, the two ways is there's any percent and 100%, you know, like a speed run.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of kids growing up were just like, you beat the quiz, you're done. But yeah, to fight Grunty, you have to get all those notes.
100%. I mean, maybe we'll talk about the boss fight a little later, but I genuinely don't know how you would beat that without some of those upgrades.
No.
But since we were kind of already on the topic, I actually pulled some of the other. Somebody is driving by very loudly, and I apologize.
I hear it.
There he is. I live in the street. I don't have a house. My computer is in the middle of a roundabout.
Daniel lives in a cardboard box.
All I have is an Xbox 360 and a copy of Banjo Kazooie. But I don't even have a TV. Don't worry about it. The differences between the N64 and the Xbox version I have here. We covered the big one, which is that when you die, some of your stuff goes back, which I think is also why in the 360 version, when you die in some of the levels, they like mechanically reset. So like if you die in Clanker's Cavern, he goes back down underwater.
Yeah.
And if you die in Click Clock Woods, then you have to recollect all the caterpillars and stuff.
Well, it was funny when I was playing it this time. I thought about me justifying myself and this reasoning of like, oh, I don't want to lose all the notes.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it's not a problem for me because I don't die anyways, so
Yeah.
it doesn't even matter. And that was true until I got to about Rusty Bucket Bay, and I started dying all the time. So
yeah, it sounds about right. But a couple other quick little differences here. There's not a ton, but in the N64 version, obviously it didn't have a second thumbstick, so you had to turn the camera with the what I'm gonna call the D-pad. I know it's not actually called that for the N64, but you had to turn it with like the directional buttons.
It does have that the feature. I'm pretty sure on the 64, where like you hit the Z trigger and it locks you front facing, like Ocarina of Time does.
Also in the N64 version, if you used 3 cheats that were not given to you by the Magic Cheater book, Cheeto, then it would fully delete your game file. Whereas
really?
Yeah. Apparently, that's what Wikipedia says anyway.
I didn't know that. I never tried that.
Whereas in the 360 version, it just makes it so that you can't save. So you just have to like turn off the game and restart, and it'll return you to before you entered all the cheats.
You know, that's funny. I did the cheats this time, and I went out of my way to find the book just for, I don't know, completionist sake, I guess. But I never thought about it. That's funny.
Well, apparently the game gives you like a warning. Like Grunty comes over and she's like, "You better stop. You better stop.
I'm not gonna listen to her. She's the antagonist.
She's a bad girl.
Yeah, what the hell?
And then the only other major difference that I found, other than like, hey, it looks different slightly because it's on stronger hardware, was
Yeah.
anytime that they would have referenced Banjo Tooie, they instead reference Nuts and Bolts, which I think is only like twice. But still, we played the 360 version, which didn't come out until like 2008. So technically, we're like off in both directions. But whatever, I feel justified and fine.
Yeah, you know what? We want to talk about this game. Shut up.
So speaking of which, me being the person with the least history of this game, my very like top level thoughts of this are: A, I really like it. I think it's a really fun game. I think it has so much personality, right? I think when you look at like the characters, the music, and the writing, and just like the art style, like so much of it is just iconic and immediately memorable, and it doesn't at any point take itself seriously, which I think all of those things together really help it sort of stand the test of times. I think it does have a lot of problems. Yeah. There are definitely some places where it does not hold up very well, namely in like how small the game is and the gameplay. But I think this is a really solid game, even as somebody who did not play this until like 4K TVs existed.
Right. Yeah. This game is just drenched in atmosphere. Like every world is so memorable, and I'm not gonna say that there's great character. You know, you go into a world and you're like, oh, there's that guy, there's that hippo guy. I don't remember the hippo guy's name.
It was like Captain Blubber or something.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, look at you. See,
he was one of my characters that I liked.
But yeah. What about
It was all on the quiz. Boggy.
Okay, all right. That's 2 for 2. Now we're just okay. What about the mean little red crocodile? Remember his name? I remember his name.
That was Mr. Vile, and I hate him.
All right,
he's
You're
awful.
3 for 3.
He's awful.
I take it back. This game has the greatest characters because Daniel can remember them all.
I'm pretty good with character names. All right, I watched One Piece. There's like 4,000 of them.
My point is, even if you're just like, oh hey, there's just that guy, it doesn't really matter because you're so entrenched in how fun this little land is, like a big old theme park.
Yeah, 100%. A theme park is actually a really good way to look at it because I think so much of this game is tied up in like specifically the different worlds of it. And maybe you'll disagree, but I think that the worlds break down pretty evenly because there's 3 worlds outside of like not counting Spiral Mountain or Grunty's Lair. There's 9 worlds, and I think they break up perfectly 3 in each category if you just do good, okay, bad. Where for me the good ones are Freeze Easy Peak, Mad Monster Mansion, and Treasure Trove Cove.
Yes,
I love those ones. I think the okay ones are Bubble Gloom Swamp, Mumbo's Mountain, and Gobi's Valley. I think those are all fine. And then the bad ones are the ones that involve swimming and Click Clock Wood. Even though Click Clock Wood is such a good idea, having to do the platforming up that tree 4 times makes me want to die.
Are we gonna break down like world by world?
We absolutely can. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well then, you know what? Let's just get into it. We'll quickly say like Spiral Mountain. It's just a little tutorial area.
But I like that it gives you an extra life.
It's pretty iconic at this point.
Or an extra.
Like it's in Smash. It was in like that Microsoft "We're bringing Banjo back" trailer.
Yeah, which then they didn't. But
which was
whatever.
A big old stinky lie. But whatever. Yeah, no, Spiral Mountain's cute. Bottles. Whenever I replay, because I love Bottles, and nothing bad ever happens to Bottles. Don't worry about it.
Did you know that there's a fan theory that Bottles was supposed to be Donkey Kong?
What?
Yeah. So there's this whole like ongoing fan theory that it persists to this day because apparently there's more and more like hints at it all the way up through Nuts and Bolts. But people very strongly believe that this was supposed to take place in the same world as Donkey Kong.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And apparently in like the beta version of the game, in your house, the picture that is now of Bottles, which is weird that there's a picture of Bottles in your house because he introduces himself to you when you go outside. So like why you got a picture of this like random
Maybe
stranger?
he's a local celebrity.
Maybe.
You haven't met him, so he's introducing himself.
But people take that and they combine it with his like general color scheme is apparently very similar to one of the skins from Smash Brothers, and the fact that Kazooie calls him Barrel Boy like a couple of times, and people have taken this theory and just run with it that it was supposed to be like at least in the same universe as Donkey Kong, which might also explain why in Smash Brothers it was when he was added, it was K. Rool and Donkey Kong who like were part of that video with him.
Yeah, that's interesting. I assumed that was specifically just the rare connection of Donkey Kong Country. And
Nah, it goes deeper.
it might go deeper. Deep like a mole.
Correct.
Like Bottles the mole. He talks a lot, doesn't he?
He does. He really does. I don't dislike Bottles. I think he's fine as one of the characters who actually like kind of matters, I guess. Like I would say there's like the main character category would just be probably Banjo Kazooie, Grunty, and Bottles. He's probably my least favorite of those four.
Yeah. I think there's that rapport that he has with Kazooie, because Kazooie is not a nice person.
No, she's really not.
Awful to everybody.
Kind of sucks, dude.
But specifically Bottles, she's starting shit with him all the time, and there's just that every time you talk to Bottles, not every time, because sometimes it goes by fairly okay, but a lot of the times he's trying to tell you something, and she's like, "Shut up, beetle breath," and it's just like, "Kazooie, stop." Not only are you being mean, but you're making this last longer. I'm just holding down the button so the fucking text goes by fast. Come on.
There's a lot of bullying from like would-be good guys in this game also. If I might point out that like Grunty's sister is just an asshole. Like I don't remember her name. It's like Brunhilde something. I don't know.
It's Brentilda.
Brentilda. And she... like, you don't know her, and words one out of her mouth are like, "My sister hangs her underwear from the rafters."
Yeah, she's...
You're like, what?
She specifically... it's like a... I mean, clearly it's a parody of, like, the witches from Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Or Wicked, yeah. Where, like... Yes... Grunty's an evil witch and she's doing evil witch stuff, but Brentilda's not here to help because she's a good person. She's just here to help because she's like, "Oh, my sister's a bitch, and we're just gonna mess with her."
Yeah, 100%.
It's like, all right, yeah. I end up ignoring Brentilda. I did not study for the quiz.
Oh no.
Oh no. And I just kind of like, we'll see what happens.
I was already taking notes for like things I wanted to say for this, so I just wrote down everything she said.
Oh, fair enough.
And then so little of it came up. And you're on a really tight timer at the end anyway, that I didn't have time to scroll through any of it, so I was just kind of remembering.
So the gimmick with the stuff she tells you is it's random every time you play.
Yeah.
And so
you can't like look up the answers.
So that's why I don't have it memorized, and I tend to not remember because like playing it this time as a somewhat busy adult, yes. Like I would play 2 worlds and then pause and then leave, and then 2 days later I'd play 2 worlds and then pause and then leave, and then which is another nice thing about playing it on Xbox now is that you don't like the game doesn't close, so you don't lose all your 1-ups every time,
and you don't have to see Grunty kill your sister every time you want to.
Oh, that's true. I didn't see Hot Grunty this time.
Honestly, a bummer. You saw the reskinned version at the end though, so like, I mean,
that's true.
A win's a win.
Yeah. So, the hell was I saying?
I don't know. I think we were originally
going
to run through like
by Hot Grunty.
That's literally her whole plan. That's her master plan to take over the world. I think we were gonna just like run through the worlds real fast.
Yeah.
So, do you want to do Grunty's Lair first or last?
We can run through it really quick now because as just like a hub world, I think it's really good. I mean,
it's cool. I like that every time you go into a world, some of the bad guys like come out after you. I think that's neat.
Yeah, that is cool. Unless it's that goddamn snowman that throws the snowballs. I hate those guys.
They're not great.
Yeah, I think it's a really good hub world. I don't want to say until it isn't, because there are certain points about the time, and I don't want to blame everything on Rusty Bucket Bay, okay? But about the time you get there, that's where I'm like, where am I going? Which door have I gone through? What? It starts
getting
just a little
really
bit
like
too much of a maze at that point.
There's a lot of like tight tunnels that all look the same, and it's kind of hard to know
Yeah.
what you're doing. And then you have to like flood it and change the water level and do all that. And it's
But for
eh,
about the first half or maybe even more of the game, I think it flows really well and just like, ooh, this is a cool area. Oh, that's neat.
yeah, 100%. But then the first official world is Mumbo's Mountain,
Mm.
and this still feels like the tutorial to me. Like this is why I put it in like the okay tier for me, is
Yeah.
because I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just don't think it really does anything.
Yeah,
It's just kind of like here's the
it's
game, play it.
it's kind of like Spiral Mountain Plus a little bit. It's the
Yeah,
same feel, the same kind of gimmick, and yeah, it's you learn the ropes. You get the Talon Trot, which is the move you will be using the rest of the game
the whole time.
nonstop.
Yeah, because it's faster than walking.
Um, yeah, this world I finished in about 12 minutes, just speed through.
Hmm.
But you know, tutorial, it's important. It teaches you you can turn into a little termite. That's cool.
I do think it's weird in this world that they give you the Talon Trot ability to climb steep hills and then immediately go, but if you want to climb that steep hill, you gotta be a termite.
Yeah,
Like, that's weird to me. For them to be like, here's the key to slopes, and then immediately be like, but not that one.
yeah, that is true.
Like, I
You
don't know.
gotta
I
be
feel
a
like
bug.
child me would be very annoyed and confused by that.
Oh yeah, child me would be so mad. I can't look up anything on the internet.
I didn't even have the internet. Like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Then we have Treasure Trove Cove. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if you can do them in other orders. This is the order I did them in.
Yeah, I mean, I think technically you can reach a point where you're doing like if you 100% a world, you 100% like the first two worlds, then you have some like spare change with like notes and uh jiggies where you could like skip and do whatever you wanted.
Mhm.
But I don't think there's ever really a reason to do that. Just
No.
the game it falls in your lap and it's like, well, this is the next world.
Plus, at least the first couple worlds, like you're getting abilities in each one that you'll need for the later
Yeah.
ones. So if you went out of
Yeah.
order, you would just have to go back, which at one point you do anyway. But still,
Also true, yeah.
but yeah, Treasure Trove Cove for me was the second one, and I really like this. This is probably the world that
yeah.
I like the vibe of the most, maybe second most.
This one's a bop. This one's good.
The music's good. It's one of the only levels that has a boss fight. If you count Nipper, I don't know that that's like a proper boss fight, but it feels like one.
Uh,
Like
yeah.
pirates are neat. I already said I like Captain Blubber. I think he's
Mhm.
a fun little buddy. I like that he gives you a quest. I feel like pretty much every other NPC that you meet in the other worlds is just like either a deadbeat dad or someone who you beat up.
Yeah, a little bit.
So, so I'm a big fan of Captain Blubber. Don't like the shark. I think it's a
Snacker?
Yeah, don't like
The
him. Scares me.
nemesis. Yeah.
Makes me deeply uncomfortable.
No, there's something about where you land in that water and you hear the knockoff Jaws.
Yeah,
Dun 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 dun. It's panic. Panic.
yeah. Did you? So here's my second little trivia drop here. Did you know actually that Grant Kirkhope got in trouble when this game came out because people thought that he had stolen some of his music?
What?
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
what?
So hold on, I gotta scroll through my notes to get it. But there were specifically three different songs that people thought, or not even thought, but like if you play them next to each other, sound very very similar. And one of them is actually the Treasure Trove Cove theme.
Really?
Yeah,
I did not know this. Well, while Daniel looks that up, obviously,
I don't know. Why.
Grant Kirkhope is one of the names people think about when it comes to this game and other Rareware games for doing amazing music. To the point where I feel like more people know Kirkhope's name than the actual directors of this game.
Yeah, I don't know any other names other than Kirkhope for this game.
And he was not credited in the Super Mario Brothers movie for the DK rap.
Oh, did he do that too?
He did the DK rap, yeah.
Honestly,
And,
king. Even if he did steal this music, what a king.
Yeah, you know what? Everybody steals every once in a while. No, I don't. I don't know. Allegedly.
Oh, sorry.
Is it-
Okay. I was wrong about it being Treasure Trove Cove, but there are three that people very heavily believe were at least extremely heavily influenced by songs.
Yeah.
So the beta version of Mumbo's Mountain was almost exactly the same as a song called Baby Elephant Walk.
Okay.
Gruntilda's Lair.
Oh, well, that's the bear goes into the woods or whatever.
It's it's Teddy Bear's Picnic, and the Click Clock Wood theme is almost exactly "Oh You Beautiful Doll."
Interesting.
So he didn't get sued for it because I don't think at the time anyone took video games seriously at all. But people were like,
Yeah.
"You did steal that music, huh?" And he was like, "No."
Interesting. Hey, and it's called sampling.
It's called sampling.
It's different.
Yeah, it's probably fine.
I don't know. You listeners at home, you listen to these things and make your own opinion. Tell
Yeah,
us.
I can't play them for you in here because I'm not Grant Kirkhope. I can't get away with plagiarism.
Yeah. He could sing them perfectly.
Yes, but
and
again,
it would sound so good we would get copyright stricken.
yeah.
So
This is episode 1. I can't risk it this early. Wait until I get like real proper famous, then I can start a rap beef with I don't know the Game Grumps guys or something.
or Snacker the Shark.
Snacker the Shark, my actual nemesis.
Yeah.
But then what's the third world?
The third world is Clanker's Cavern.
I hate Clanker's Cavern.
No,
I really do, and it's not just Clanker's Cavern. It's also Clanker. I hate him as well.
Were you stricken with fear upon seeing Clanker like most people say they were?
No, because I was an adult. I was just kind of like I felt
true.
bad for him.
too busy having back pain to be scared of this cartoon shark.
Where's the lie?
Yeah, no. So a lot of people say like playing this as kids or younger people, going through that tunnel to see Clanker for the first time.
Yeah,
was top 10 scary things in video games. One of those things.
But he's smiling. It's fine. Whatever.
Yeah,
kids are scared.
Dude's just chilling. But yeah, I think it's a combination of it's not just big shark mouth, but it's like I don't know, maybe that kind of like borderline hydrophobia, claustrophobia thing. Like if you're like water cave exploring and you're like in this narrow passageway and then boom, suddenly there's a big teethy creature looking at you. I think that's enough to scare a small child. I get it. But I could easily beat a small child. I'm not scared.
Fair and justified. For me,
also apparently Clanker's a whale.
Yeah, so he's officially listed as a whale shark. He shouldn't look like that because whale sharks don't have teeth like that. But I mean, what am I, a marine biologist? But this world to me feels so small, and I know that there's like that front room before you dive down and get jump scared by Clanker. That's technically also part of the world. I don't know that I really like emotionally count that.
That's fine. That's the foyer.
Yeah. And it's just like, so it ends up being just this like one pool with a big dumb doofus in it, and then you go inside his stomach and his organs try to kill you. And I didn't like it. And I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that I think the swimming in this game is rough, right? And there's
it was probably easier for us playing on the Xbox version.
100%. 100%. But I think it's rough, and like I don't 100% hold like Rare and Team whatever accountable for it because this is 1998 and they're still figuring out how games work in 3D. So I'm not like mad about it, but playing it in 2024, it is a little bit like, oof, I gotta swim through this key how many times before drowning?
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you struggle with that part?
I did actually, yeah. Because
so
you're supposed to like swim through the bubbles that gloop or whatever blows out, and I just cannot. I cannot.
Yeah, the first time I played that game, it was like impossible. I've done it enough now where I'm not to brag.
I'm simply built.
I'm pretty good at it. But yeah, no, that one's definitely. No matter what, it's just like, okay, I'm in Clanker's Cavern. I do the gloop part first. Because if you fuck up and drown, the whole thing goes back down. So,
wasn't a fan of it, and that one honeycomb piece that's in like the tube where you have to swim underneath and go up to get into it. That was the first thing in this playthrough that I had to look up where it was because I was swimming around trying to find it forever and could not find it.
I remembered it was in a tube.
Yeah.
For this one, and I was just like, "Is it here? Where's the goddamn tube? Where is
this
it?"
thing?
I was
What do I
like
do?
swimming around like 2 times looking for that thing.
What's happening?
Um, yeah. So, why is Clanker bleeding?
I don't know. I don't know. This is also for me one of the only worlds, even though this is my among my least favorite worlds, probably my second least favorite world. This is also to me one of the only ones where I feel like you actually like are doing something that feels impactful to like hurting Grunty, because
Yeah.
like that's one of my complaints with this game actually is that I feel like you don't really have any reason to go to the worlds. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
this is a very early game in terms of like platforming and all this stuff goes. So like, just having the game function and be a thing where you could jump around was enough at the time. But
Sure.
for me, I'm looking at it and I'm like, why am I going to these worlds? Like, I feel like I'm just like, hey, I know you have my sister, but what if I went sledding first?
Yeah, that's true.
You know? So there's a lot of it where it's like, I wish that I was going in and like, maybe I had to break totems to break a spell that Grunty had cast, or like fight her bosses so that they're not defending her, or I don't know, anything, right? Whereas
Understandable.
in the game as it stands, it feels like I'm just going to the worlds to collect some stuff because it's fun, and it is. But I'm like, but why
Yeah.
am I doing it?
Yeah, and this is the world where you free an indentured servant who's just
Yeah,
been forced into this gross little muddy water to be her garbage disposal. That's what they say he
that's what he
is.
says. Yeah, and it's you let him up so that he can breathe air, but he's not getting out of there. Like you're,
No, he's even if he wasn't chained, he's not getting out of
he's
there.
not going
Oh, they
anywhere.
built it around him.
I don't know. I'm not a fan. Not a fan.
Uh, yeah, so I agree with you in the sense that if you're breaking it down like the first 3 worlds, the second 3 worlds, the third 3 worlds of the 9,
Yeah,
I do agree that this is the one in the first 3 that is like homework. It's like, oh, now I gotta do Clanker.
yeah.
But once I'm in there and I get in the flow, I really don't end up minding it, and I think it's just because I know that there's worse swimming to do later.
That's fair. I also think that it's a really short level, so I think that helps.
Yeah, again, it's I burned through this one in about like 25 minutes, something like that.
Is
I should have wrote down my times to brag,
if you
and
still
then I
have
would
the
have
game installed,
conveniently
it'll probably
forgot to
say.
write down how long Click Clock Wood took me, and I'd be
I
like,
think
"Oh, I don't know, I don't have that one
I
written."
think took me like an hour and a half or 2 hours. Bubble Gloom Swamp, is that next?
Yeah, that's number 4.
Okay. So this one again I think is fine. Right? As this is like the swamp, just like the regular swamp level. I don't think it necessarily does anything super exciting, but I will say contains the best transformation.
Oh, you
Crocodile
think
Banjo
so?
is best Banjo, and I will
Oh,
fight and die on that hill.
ooh, I disagree.
What is best Banjo?
We'll get there.
Okay,
Um, it has not happened yet.
you better not say Pumpkin Banjo. I'll fight you.
We will get there.
Oh no.
Um, yeah, no, here's my official statement on Bubble Gloop Swamp. I like Bubble Gloop Swamp
Hmm.
until
Until
the goddamn Mr. Vile
okay.
crocodile.
Yeah, Bubble Gloom Swamp introduces too many games that you then have to replay at the trivia game at the end, and both of them are made significantly worse in the trivia game. Like,
Oh man,
so much harder. I don't know. I'm a grown ass adult and I'm playing these mini games and I'm getting kind of bodied by Mr. Vile. And even I tied him one time and he still kicks your ass.
so this recent playthrough is the only time, because there's those little like running shoes in there.
Mhm.
It's the only time I left to get the running shoes to come back. And
Yeah.
let me tell you, it doesn't help as much as you think it would. I think it makes him go faster too.
No
I don't
way.
know what was going on.
Some like
I
really
mean,
heavy rubber banding.
like clearly I was getting things faster and I was getting a bit of a lead on him, and I did. It took me like I only failed like twice after getting the shoes.
yeah.
So that's better than I normally do. But I still failed twice with the shoes.
Yeah.
So I hate
And
that
you're
fucking game.
a veteran of this game at this point.
Yeah. Well, the people are gonna say skill issue, and you know
100%.
what? You're
Yeah.
right. I suck. I'm not good at video games.
Yeah. But maybe if you were really good at Mr. Vile's Grumbly Hunter, whatever that mini game is called, maybe you're bad at life because you spent so much time hunting grumblies.
That's true.
That's true. This is one of those worlds where I'm like, what's going on here? You know? Where like I feel like a modern game would give you some kind of story about who these characters are. Like Tanked Up the big turtle and the alligator, the big alligator that I don't think has a name, but Mr. Vile lives in his mouth. What are they to each other? Are they rivals? Are we fighting for the swamp? Are they friends? Are they lovers? We kissing? Like what? What's going on?
They're local deities.
I don't.
That's my.
Honestly, it's entirely possible. Like you crawl into both for mini games that I don't want to do. So like they have that in common. That can't be something that they share with a lot of other people. So they probably bond over that, right?
They lord over the little mud huts that are in the area next door. The turtle is benevolent, but the crocodile is villainous.
They're the alligator and turtle on your shoulder.
Yeah. Inside you, there's a turtle and an alligator, and it's the one you feed.
It's the one you feed, or whose feet you stomp on.
Okay, you know what? I want to jump in and say, if I was standing around and be like, oh man, my feet are cold. My feet are really cold.
Yeah.
And some guy stomped on my feet.
I would not be happy.
That would not produce a Jiggy as a thank you.
It would produce a Jiggy as a please leave me alone.
It's like, yeah, put a sock on, idiot, and you slam a sledgehammer into my toes.
I think maybe he also just has like really bad circulation problems, because name a cold swamp. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on?
Well, he must have bad circulation because he can't even pull in his like feet without getting slammed. So
that's a good point. But speaking of Tanked Up, did you know that the turtle on the inside of him, Tip Top, who is presumably related to him in some form or fashion, actually predates Kazooie?
I did, but I don't know what from.
So Banjo made his first debut in Diddy Kong Racing, and so did Tip Top.
Oh, makes sense.
Yeah. Neither of them were characters at the time. Like, their video games didn't exist. They weren't a thing. Banjo was like originally going to be a side character in a project that they were working on called Dream, Land of the Giants. And I don't know if that had started when they did Diddy Kong Racing, and so they like plugged him in there, or if they pulled him from Diddy Kong Racing to put him in Dreams. But do you know about Project Dream? Because I actually pulled a thing here.
I've heard it before. Please enlighten me.
Okay, so I'm just going to literally read from the thing that I copied. So these are not my words, and I will not be held accountable for their actions. But during most of its development period, Project Dream was a role-playing video game that focused on a boy named Edson and his pet dog, Dinger, and Billy the Parrot.
Too British.
Right? It's the most British thing I've ever heard in my life. In its story, a band of pirates led by Captain Blackeye search for floaty, a substance that would allow their ships to fly. Edson got into trouble with the pirates and set off on a journey with his girlfriend to escape them. The Super Nintendo version of the game employed an isometric perspective and had a fairy tale theme. Edson used a wooden sword to fight trolls, and Dinger performed actions to assist him, such as going ahead and digging holes to find items. Occasionally, a dinosaur would appear and attempt to crush Edson by stepping on him. And they show this in one of the like videos that you can unlock in Rare Replay. And it's literally just that. Like, this camera shakes for a little bit, and then a foot comes out of nowhere and stomps on you if you aren't moving fast enough. Jesus. I don't even know if there was like going to be a setup of why there was a dinosaur, but I have no idea. When development transitioned to the Nintendo 64, Dream became a larger RPG rendered in 3D computer graphics. The pirate theme became more dominant than the fairy tale one, and as development progressed on the N64, the game went through radical changes. Edson was replaced twice, first by a rabbit for some reason, and later by Banjo the Bear, who became the main character of Banjo Kazooie. The final version of the game was a linear platformer in the vein of Rare's Donkey Kong Country games, but when they made the jump from... Basically, they worked on it for a long time. They were like, what if we just do a Donkey Kong Country but with a bear? And then they were like, that won't work because Mario 64 had just come out, and we want to kind of like ape what that did because it's revolutionary. So they did that, but with the bear. So they like canceled Dreams entirely, and then started this new project, and within like I think it was like 16 or 18 months they had completely finished Banjo Kazooie.
Very nice.
Yeah. And some of the pirate stuff that they had sort of dreamed up, no pun intended, for this game ended up in Sea of Thieves. So it all got recycled.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like Sea of Thieves.
It's a fun game. We'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Tip Top actually was arguably depending on how you count it, the first or second Banjo Kazooie game or character to be invented.
Cool.
So, even though he's literally just some turtle inside a larger turtle.
Hey, he's head of a choir.
True. He's got a good job. Honestly, one of the only jobs in the unless you count slave garbage disposal.
Yeah, there's some jobs. Mumbo's got a job, I think. Local shaman.
Local shaman.
Gotta
True.
be.
Doctor. Medicine man.
Froggy is he's an athlete because he races. In the sense of like a NASCAR driver, yeah, it's the same thing.
Maybe.
I don't know. What would you call it? You wouldn't call a NASCAR driver an athlete. You'd call them a sports, I guess, a racer, or I don't know. What would you?
I think honestly, I would probably still call them an athlete.
Because I would refer to any form of racing, whether it be NASCAR or Formula One or whatever.
Yeah,
with race cars,
NASCAR. Or
I would call that a sport.
Yeah, for sure.
But to be an athlete, you have to be. Well, I don't know, because you still have to train, and
we as a society have for some reason decided to call esports athletes. So if that's the case, racers are for sure athletes.
Well, okay.
Yeah, 100%. If you can play Overwatch and be an athlete, you can drive a car and be an athlete.
All right, well that completely settles it. Yeah, they're athletes. So okay, Boggy's an athlete.
Boggy's an athlete, or is he just doing it to avoid his kids? Okay. Anyway, what's the next one after Bubble Gloop? It's not Freeze Easy yet, is it?
Oh yeah, I hate Mr. Vile. Then yeah, it is Freeze Easy Peak. Yeah.
Okay, Freeze Easy I also like, although I think they went. We need to do a Christmas theme. What if we just stuck a big ass snowman in the middle of a square and called that the level?
That's true. I think Freeze Easy Peak might be my second favorite world.
I think I'm with you there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. It's good. I like that. Boggy left his children to die in the cold.
He's the worst dad. He is the worst dad, right? Because he either stole or lost the presents. He's not around, and then when he finally goes back after going on his, I don't know, midlife crisis hike race or whatever, he comes back and he's like, God, I hate these kids. I wish they'd shut up. And they're just enjoying Christmas. They're just opening their presents and hanging out.
You say he either stole or lost them. You're not taking into account that I don't think he ever got them.
That, you know what? You do. The theme of Freeze Easy Peak is you basically have to do a reverse Grinch. Is you are saving Christmas.
You have to this. It's like if he was the protagonist of Jingle All the Way, and he took 2 steps onto the highway and fell asleep. Like,
and you're like, and you're the guy who's like, what's his name? Who's trying to like sleep with the wife?
Oh, Ted, Phil Hartman.
See, I was gonna say Neil, but that's Santa Claus.
That is Santa Claus.
Yeah.
No, Boggy's a fat drunk bastard.
I hate him, and his race also sucks. He rubber bands so hard, like it is not a fair race.
He's a little cheater, is what he is.
100%. If you get ahead of him, he will speed up like to double your speed, just so that he's always right on your butt.
I will say though that because of him, and this could be a good thing or a bad thing, but I've been saying "whoa-hey" for like years now because of this.
That's because
guy.
of Boggy.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I like the theme of this level, is what I'll say. I think that this is one of the levels where they make the best use of the theme, where they're like, it's Christmas, what can we do? Okay, we'll collect presents, we'll fight snowmen, we'll light a tree, like there's a lot of fun uses of like, this is Christmas. And I think they do a really good job of that. I do think this level has some of the most irritating enemies. I think those snowmen suck.
Oh, yeah, no.
Hate them.
So when you get into this world, you talk to the polar bear kids, you slide down the hill, you like dead sprint over to the bottles, learn the move,
Mm-hmm.
and then you fly and you take out all the snowmen. It's the only way to
It's
progress.
the only way to
Like you have
survive.
to clear them or die trying, and then try again. Like
Yeah.
there's no other way. Um, but yeah, I would like to take this opportunity to pour one out for all the Twinklies that I did not save from the Twinkly Munchers.
Yeah, I definitely lost like probably 20, 30 of them. I was not
They
good at killing those things.
you just gotta get in the pattern, but even then you're gonna lose some, and
We're gonna
boy
lose some
howdy.
soldiers on the way.
And it's gory too. Those little dudes shatter in those mouths. It's nasty.
It's bad. It's bad. that Jiggy was probably the most annoying for me on this level, honestly.
The light the tree, fly through the thing.
Yeah, I had a lot of difficulty flying through that thing enough times in the time limit because the flying is basically the same as the swimming, but maybe like slightly better. And I was really struggling to because I think you have to fly through it 3 times in like 60
Yeah,
seconds or something.
yeah,
It was not good for it was not good for Daniel.
yeah. There's the thing that I got mad trying to fly through was in the next world.
Oh yeah.
But let's see. I really like that the snowman's scarf is red and yellow, and then on every red space is a feather, and every yellow space is a note.
Yeah.
Thought that was cute. I really. You turn into a walrus. It's pretty good.
You turn into a so this is not your favorite transformation.
No.
Okay. Okay. If it's the pumpkin, I swear to
We will
God.
get there.
Okay. All right. So then we had another level that I think is just kind of okay, and that's Gobi's Valley. I think it's fine.
I like this level quite a bit. I think you're right in saying that of this three, uh, Freezeezy Peak's the best, and this one is fine. I guess the problem here is just like remembering all the pyramids you have and have not already been to.
Yeah.
And then flying through that goddamn cactus.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the flying and swimming controls in this game are not good, and I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of people who like played this as a kid who will be able to like stand up for it and defend it and all that. I don't. I won't. I'm sorry that like you got really good at this as a kid, but I didn't, and I think it's awful.
The swimming I got pretty good at. And the flying, I spent a lot of time circling things and like
Yeah.
missing the dive bombs and whatever. I'm not gonna say that it's awful, but I also will not defend it from you.
Okay, I accept this.
So, get them.
Yeah.
I'll be over here.
I'll be over here. I'm watching with my popcorn.
I'll be over here flying in a circle around the honeycomb that I can't get.
So this does bring me to one of my other favorite characters in this game, Gobi.
Yeah,
Is this his valley, or is it named because he's there?
he was named after a great hero who
Gobi-
conquered this valley
Gobi the
and
Mighty.
built these pyramids. I don't know. I guess it's his valley, but we sure as hell bully him the hell out of it.
Right? Okay, I felt bad for him, but I didn't stop doing it because like every time I hit him, I got something nice. So
That's true. Yeah, that's all it takes.
because for anyone who for some reason is listening and has never played Banjo Kazooie, you rescue this camel named Gobi, and then across multiple levels for the worlds for the rest of the game, you just keep like slamming your what's it called, the beak bomb or whatever. You like do a sky tackle.
You ground pound him.
Ground pound him, so that he spits water out of his humps onto whatever and like waters a tree or grows a flower or whatever. And
In my defense, he should stop parking it next to things I need to water.
but my other point though is like that tree is surrounded by water.
Yeah, he can't reach it.
But you can. You could just
What am I supposed to just
You
cup
splash
it in
it
my
on him.
hands and swing
Yeah.
it? No. Here's all right. Fuck Gobi. And here's why. He's chained up. I don't know who chained him up in his own valley. I don't know. Grunty,
it's hard to
I'd
be the
assume.
king.
She's
Yeah,
the bad guy.
probably.
But you break him loose, and he's like, "Oh, bet, awesome, I'm free. I'm gonna go get some water because I'm thirsty." And then he runs over, parks it next to the tree, and the tree's like, "I'm dying of thirst. Please help me." And Gobi's like, "Oh, I feel bad for this tree, but I'm not gonna help." Like he says that, Daniel. He says, "I need this water, fat piece of shit."
Yeah.
Then you slam down on him, make him spit his gross camel water into this sad tree's mouth, and then he gets mad and he runs away. And he keeps. This guy's an asshole, and I'm glad I hit him.
I will say I don't know how his story ends, because the last time I saw him, he was like, "I'm gonna go to the lava world," and then like I didn't see him again.
I believe he goes to Banjo Tooie.
Oh, does he? Okay, so
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. We'll get there. I assumed he was hiding somewhere in the place where you have to like, you know, where the lava is at in
Yeah,
Grunty's Lair.
the quiz.
Yes,
Which we'll
like
get.
even, or like just before it even. But yeah, didn't see him.
That's true.
So I guess he's in Dewey. The only other thing that I wanted to note here is I think it's weird that when you fall into the sand, they're like, there's eels in here, and not just this sand is hot.
Sand eels.
Like, why?
Man, I don't know what it was. Like, this level is where my luck started to run out.
Mm.
Like, I'm breezing through this game, flying through it. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm having a good time. I fell in those goddamn eels so many times.
Yeah.
It was heartbreaking. But no, overall, I do still like once again, the atmosphere of Gobi's Valley, I think, carries through here. And
Yeah. I think it's a really good idea.
It's got one of the best themes of the whole game, I think.
I don't really remember it, to be honest with you.
Well, I'm not gonna sing it because then Grant Kirkhope will copyright us, and then he'll get copyrighted from the people he stole it from. Allegedly.
Not the infinite copyright cycle. No. Yeah. So, because I think the music in this game is really good, but I do think it's one of those. I think A, it's one of those things that gets really overhyped, and B, I think that it's like I would never listen to the music of this game outside of the context of this game. You know what I mean? Like I'd never go to the gym and you know.
You're not a video game OST guy. Come on.
I'll listen to some OSTs, but this is not going to make the gym playlist. You know.
I'm trying to think. If I were to listen to one of the songs from this game at the gym, which one would it be? It's a good question.
I mean, my favorite one is probably like either Grunty's Lair or Treasure Trove Cove. I know Spiral Mountain is like the classic one, but that's just not. I don't think any of them are like ones that I would listen to.
That's not gym music. Ironically, I think Gobi's Valley might be the best one for the gym.
Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, what's after Gobi's Valley?
Then I believe we are on to my favorite world, Mad Monster Mansion.
This is also probably my favorite world.
Listen, I love Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
I love Disney's The Haunted Mansion.
Correct.
The ride and the Eddie Murphy movie, but not the Jared Leto movie.
Tell him, King.
I love this world, and the pumpkin is the best transformation in the game. How dare you?
I actually this is the one spot we'll very heavily disagree then, because I actually think it's kind of the worst one.
Oh, you jump and his little pumpkin top pops off.
That is cute. You got me there.
You go in the tall grass and you can't see him, and then you jump, and he's got he's got Banjo's little Uber Eats backpack on him.
Yeah. You're selling me. You are selling me. I think it's really cute. I just don't like it because I don't think it gives you anything. Like the alligator or crocodile, whatever, can do a little bite. The bumblebee can fly. Like not most of them, but a lot of them have like abilities. And then the pumpkin is just like, wall, I'm apparently small. You're like, cool, buddy.
Yeah, that's his thing. He can get flushed down a toilet.
What a bummer. But this is still probably my favorite world. Even though another complaint I have for this is I don't necessarily think it uses the Halloween theme like super well. Obviously it's all spooky and there's like ghosts and stuff, but I don't think it like.
There's ghosts. There's bats.
I don't like the bats actually. They annoyed me.
Yeah, they're a little too small to just like hit
Yeah.
competently.
Yeah.
There's the Ouija board.
That was a fun one. I
You
love the
turned into
church.
something.
The church and Moat's Hand are probably my favorite
Yeah,
part.
Moat's hand. All right. I enjoy Moat's hand.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to speak negatively of Moat's hand,
You could.
but he needs to get a new organ because every key sounds the same.
They do. Yeah, you're right. When you're right, you're right. I do like that though. This one has some of the more interesting jiggies, I think, to me too. Like getting to sneak up on the ghost, I think is cool.
Yeah.
I did drown in the well before I realized that you could go in there as the pumpkin.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh, this would have been a lot easier. But at that point, it already collected it the hard way. So I was like, well, oops.
I'm trying to remember, and I cannot recall, but I want to say that like Mad Monster Mansion is supposed to be Grunty's house, and like that bedroom you go into is supposed to be her bedroom, the same way that Clanker is her garbage disposal.
Hmm.
I think.
I could see that. I mean, she's a witch. She should live in a creepy, rusty old house, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's crazy. One thing I heard and I was not able to confirm. So the bit where you have to like knock down the gate that's next to it so that you can come back as the pumpkin to get into the thing to open the next world. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, at least in the N64 version, if you don't break that down before you go into the world, then you'll have to come back out, do it, and go back in and recollect all your Mumbo tokens to get the transformation.
Oh,
I read that in a review that I was reading, and that sounds awful.
Yeah, that sounds. I did. Funny enough, in this playthrough, I forgot to break it down, and I had to go back in and become the pumpkin.
Yeah, but on the Xbox version, it doesn't matter.
But yeah, to reclaim all your Mumbo tokens, that sounds punishing.
Yeah, it sounds rough. And then I started thinking about like, is that true for all of the worlds? Because like a lot of I don't know if it's all of them, but pretty much all of the worlds that give you a transformation, you have to go out and do it again.
It might be. I think the only time I played it on the N64 is I didn't go back to Worlds a lot. You know.
Yeah. I should also mention the Switch version is just the N64 version. So on the Switch version, all of this is still true.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So if you play the Switch version, it will be worse.
Nintendo just says get good, you know.
They really do.
They're like,
and I say
like,
I can't.
You don't want to get the notes again. To be better. Like you're right.
You're right, Miyamoto. I should have gotten good. And then we've got the one, the only, the rustiest, bucketest bay.
I did finish this one in under an hour this time.
Okay, I don't
but just barely. It was like 58 minutes, 54 seconds, something like that was my time on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is the famous one.
It's bad. It's bad, and I don't like it, and I don't think anybody likes it. I don't think it's as bad as people say, but I do think it's really bad.
It is referred to as Rusty Fuck It Bay.
Yeah, and I think that's a correct and good thing to say.
And to me, I think the worst part of this world is the engine room.
Yeah, I didn't have as much because I listened to a lot of reviews before this. A lot of people were like, "I died there 100 times." I didn't have that much trouble with it, but
I didn't die there 100 times. I didn't die there 100 times, but I did die there enough to have to fucking do the Dark Souls run from the bonfire all the way back into the engine room like 5 times, and I was like, I'm done. This is enough.
Yeah. What got me was not the engine room itself, but when you get to the propellers to get the jiggy at the end, if you don't get out in time with the really bad swimming controls and the thing turns back on, it doesn't just hit you, it kills you instantly. Like you just die.
That happened to me as well, but luckily I got the jiggy first.
I did not.
Aww.
And I had to do it again. I was so mad. I will say, okay, one of my biggest problems with this world is that I think its aesthetic is ugly. And not just not just ugly, but also like boring. Because we're talking about the worlds, and this world's aesthetic is just boat. And it feels like in the Barbie movie when Ken is like, my job is beach, and you're like, what is
Yeah.
that? What are we doing?
This level is boat.
This level is boat, and you're like,
This level is boat in grease. I don't know. It's just
and
dirty.
they bring back Snacker. It's the worst of all worlds.
They do. He's in his dirty little pond over there.
His dirty little pond. Well, we should probably at some point mention the water in here kills you.
Yeah.
The water in Rusty Cucket Bay kills you because when you're underwater, you drown twice as fast, and when you're above water, you still drown at the normal speed.
You're just drowning normal until you get out of the
water. Which I don't understand and upsets me.
Because it stinks and it's oily or something. I don't know.
Would drowning twice as fast underwater not have been bad enough?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just bad. Worth mentioning that there's like cold frozen water in Click Clock Wood that has the same exact thing.
Yeah. Oh, and I died there too. Yeah. So I was trying to go help out my little beaver friend, and I could not get it done.
Yeah, I was going about my duty on this one, and then that fear that you have in every world where you're like, okay, but it's worked out so far. It finally came true with Rusty Bucket Bay, where it's just like, there's 4 notes left somewhere.
There's 4 notes left somewhere. And you know what happened to me, and this is my biggest complaint that I feel like not enough people talk about with this world, is the windows. Those breakable windows that you have to break to get in. I didn't remember that they were a thing. And so I was running around trying to figure out where these... I think I had like 10 notes left or something at the end.
That's
and I was
literally it, yeah.
What is happening? Because they don't look distinct enough from the ones that you can't break. The only other windows that you can break are in Mad Monster Mansion, and those ones, they're like lit up, so you know that like, oh, video game is telling me, to break this thing. Which
is confusing in this world because there's those windows on like the warehouses that you can break, but in this one, the ones you break are not lit up, and the ones that are lit up you cannot break, and it's weird that like Mad Monster Mansion like almost teaches you like, oh, break the lit up windows, and then this one is just like, nope, idiot, why'd you try to do that?
Yeah, that really irritated me, really genuinely, because there's like 3 or 4 windows on the boat that you have to break to go in to get them.
Yeah,
and couldn't find any of them. I ended up looking up a guide because I was like, where are they? And I was like,
they're almost indistinguishable from like there's like 3 little pixels on the ones you can break that are different from the ones that you can't.
Yeah.
And it's only something that you know once you realize the ones you can break. It's
exactly.
Like, oh, okay.
Before you know that you can break windows, you would never think of it, but they pop out of the wall slightly. And so if you notice that, then you can be like, oh, what's going on here? But like, I'm not doing that because I'm running around on Kazooie's back going, where are these notes? I'm not going like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was irritating. I hate this level.
It's a filter. This is when I said that this game is fairly pick up and play for me.
This is the reason.
This is where it stops.
Yeah.
Like I get to Mad Monster Mansion, which is my favorite world. Mm-hmm. I do that, and I'm like, all right, I'm done. Sorry,
that's the game.
Yeah.
We've only got 1 world left, and I think it's a pretty divisive one because I think there's a lot to love about Click Clock Wood. Mm-hmm. I think it's a really great idea, and I just don't like doing it. Mm-hmm. That's where I stand.
I love this world. I think it's one of the coolest worlds.
I would agree with that.
And I hate this world.
Okay, so we're together on this one.
Because I fell off that goddamn tree
like 10 times.
400 times, Daniel.
I died from fall damage. From getting knocked off by those birds.
I feel like I was going through this whole world, Click Clock Wood, all 4 seasons with like no more than 2 health at a time. It was insane.
Yeah, that honestly, that feels about right. Because it's not just the climb. There's also, this game asks you to do things that don't really make sense on an Xbox controller. Maybe they make more sense on an N64. I don't know. But
I can almost guarantee you nothing makes sense on an N64 controller.
That's fair. That's fair and true.
Fucking backwards bike handle.
But no, I think they have a name, but the Venus flytraps with the notes in them, you have to go into like the Wonder Wing, like invulnerable mode, and then jump into it. But you have to like, the way you have to hold the buttons to do all of that and then jump into it like correctly. Yeah. My hands don't like doing that.
So So here's what I have to say to you right now, Daniel.
Yeah. Is it good?
You are correct,
Okay.
but you are also wrong.
Oh no.
Now you are correct because I too was doing it that way, and I wasted a lot of gold feathers doing that.
How are you supposed to do it? Wait, what? There's another way?
You can land on them as the bee,
I hate this. I hate that. I hate this.
but to be fair, you can't be the bee in anything but spring.
So are they only? I don't remember what seasons they're in. Are they only in like spring?
No, I'm pretty sure they're spring and summer and fall. They're not in winter. They're all dead by winter.
Yeah, I mean that would make sense.
Um,
So you
yeah,
do
I
have to
don't
jump
know.
into it at least sometimes.
I guess so.
That's crazy. That's crazy, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
But I do. It's such a good world. It does, like in terms of idea, but it raises a
Yeah.
lot of questions for me. Like, what's going on with Erie? Where's his mom at? Why I'm feeding this bird? What's going on?
What the question it raises for me is less of like a character sense, like what's this world like? It's what kind of temporal shift are we in? Because you help the beaver, Naughty, you help him break that little boulder,
Mhm.
but then I went back to Spring, and he's like, "Oh, the fucking boulder, help!" I'm like, "I already helped you, dude."
Yeah.
It's
Well, and
like
if you die, the boulder shows back up.
that specific version of Naughty is stuck
He's stuck in an
forever.
endless loop of not being able to get into his house.
Yeah.
This is the level that I most dreaded coming back to in this playthrough because I so negatively remember it from my first playthrough, and I think I had a better time with it this time than I did the first time. But I still am like, that's a rough one, buddy.
It's took me about an hour and a half, this one.
Yeah, I think I was in about that same ballpark. I think it was an hour and a half, maybe up to 2 hours. At one point, I just like got tired of it and stopped playing for a while. Though, to be fair,
I did there was a point I think like my last four notes, right? They were all like on the top of the tree, and I got three of them and then fell off and had to climb up the tree again for like the 50th time. And I had to like I stood up and started pacing. I was like, ooh,
you
ooh,
said not today, buddy.
ooh, gotta do it again. Yeah, no, I respect this level. It's a very neat level, and I love playing with the seasons and doing all the different things.
Mhm.
But it's a nut punch almost the whole time.
I agree completely. It's because I think, especially for the time period, it's such a unique idea and such a cool execution of it. But then you have to actually play it, and you're like, I wish I didn't, because I wish I could call in my big brother to play this level for me.
I'll also say that to get in this level, I forgot that you had to like hit a switch to get the jiggy painting thing to
Yeah,
be accessible.
yeah. I had to look up how
So
to do that.
I ran all the way back to like where I remembered the painting was, and I was like, "There's no thing," so I had to go all the way back again. Kind of at this point, and maybe this is why I was like saying earlier, where I was like, I really like um, Grunty's lair until I don't, because by the end I was running back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Because also that was the point where like I had gotten all the Cheeto things and I went back to do all the codes on the sandcastle.
I don't. We'll get to it when we get to the boss fight. I genuinely don't know how you would win that boss fight without those cheats.
I mean, there's people that do it without getting any honeycombs and any upgrades, and there's just
Those people are crazy, and I'm
there's
both
some-
jealous and hate
there's-
them.
there's some freaks out there, Daniel. Some freaks.
They have to be stopped. I also don't care for the trivia game. I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's bad, but I think it kind of comes out of nowhere.
I love that it does come out of nowhere. I think it's just like that wacky kind of humor that this game has. Oh, that wacky humor. I don't like how I said that, but regardless,
You got him.
um, I I think the concept of the quiz is really fun. Man, I was getting pissed off though.
Oh yeah.
Um, I a lot of the trivia questions I had down, like the little banjo spaces. I was like, okay, those are for the
Those are
most part
free.
safe.
Yeah.
I think I only messed up on those like once. I also only failed the quiz once this time around.
I think I failed it 3 times.
And I already said that I didn't bother talking to Brentilda because I knew I wasn't going to remember anything anyways. And it's not like I was going back to all the spots to study up.
Yeah.
Um, so at a certain point, I was just trying to all right, well, I'll wing this one and maybe I'll get it, or maybe I'll remember what she said that one time I did talk to her. Or, but I ended up using the Joker cards to pass those. I feel like
Same.
the Joker cards are almost meant to. I don't know. Maybe they thought like, oh yeah, the Joker cards for like the instant death spots because that's scary. But I was like, no, dude, I'll take the instant death spot over the fucking minigame spot any
They
day.
make all of the minigames worse, is the thing. Because
It's the timer.
yeah, it's the timer on the memory game. It's the fact that they change the perspective on the Tip Top Choir game so that you they play it from one perspective and then you play it from a different one.
Yeah.
That makes it a little bit more challenging. And then the Mr. Vile is just he's always tough, but then they're like, do it or die.
Yeah. Ironically, the two mini games, and I don't remember which one of these was in the quiz that I ended up failing, but the two mini games that I ended up passing were Mr. Vile, which is crazy, and then the giant box from Rusty Bucket Bay.
I think the only one that because I ended up just starting to skip them because I was like, no.
Yeah.
The only one that I think I actually finished was the choir one.
I fucked up the choir one and got really mad because the choir thing is like, it's confusing because like, oh, I hit the wrong one, damn it, and then you're like, what? Do I start over or do I try to hit the next one in the sequence?
Yeah, and
I
every time
still
you
don't.
hit a wrong one, I think you take damage.
Yeah, you get hurt. That's another thing that pissed me off, and I think it's why it's definitely why I failed the first quiz. Is like, okay, I got through that minigame by the skin of my teeth. I have 2 health left
Yeah.
because I got hit by that box an awful lot, didn't I?
Ugh.
It
It does lead to one of my favorite jokes of the game, though, which is Kazooie being like, we could use that washing machine.
yeah, you know.
It seems pretty good.
She said, "We'll take that gross ratty thing," and then Banjo said, "I think we should take Tootie." She's like, "Yeah, that's what I meant." Oh, you bitch! you evil bird!
I hate her so much. She's the best.
Yeah, she's great.
Oh man! And then the boss fight. Thoughts on boss
Oh
fight?
boy,
I don't like it. I mean, it's not that I don't like it. It's that I think it's really frustrating.
it is frustrating. I never get it on my first go, and yeah, once again, skill issue. But
Yeah.
hey, people who suck like to play video games too, so
Yeah.
give me a break.
And I'm bad at the game.
Yeah, she kicks my ass quite a bit.
I get down to the point at the end where she just starts like rapid firing at you, and
Yeah.
and then I'm just like, well, it's a DPS race right now. Like, can
The
I get
amount
these
of-
eggs in this hole fast enough?
The amount of times that like the Ginginator has shown up, and then I've been killed after,
Yeah,
heartbreaking. Even with like the doubled up health and everything.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. Is I genuinely don't think I'd be able to beat this fight without double health. If I did not
Yeah.
get like all the notes or whatever it is you have to do to unlock that, I don't think I would ever beat this lady.
Yeah.
Did you know in the beta version of this game, the Gruntilda boss fight was not the end of the game?
Like there was more after
There
it,
was
or
more
it
after,
wasn't?
yeah.
Oh, what was there?
So when you beat Grunty in the released version of the game, she throws this like last ditch spell to hit you
Yeah.
and misses.
Yeah.
And you might be like, oh, that's weird that they chose to do that. What a random thing. Well, in the beta version, it hits you and she turns you into, God, what is it that she turns you into? But she like transforms you into something they can't play. I think it's a frog. And then you actually play as Tootie. And Tootie has to go back through some of the worlds and collect Mumbo tokens so that you can transform back.
That would... That... Oh.
Yeah, I think it feels kind of unnecessary. I don't know if she had like a different moveset or whatever. I'm sure she did.
That's interesting. I want to say, because it's not like... It's not... Because the way you're describing it, it sounds like...
And one more
just
thing.
like a little after the game revisit thing.
Yeah.
Not like moving the goalpost at the very end, which is what I thought you were saying at first. But it's just kind of like a cute little go back and get. I see both sides. I'm gonna sit the fence on this one. I can see how that would have been kind of cute, and I could see how that would have been really annoying.
I think I personally would have enjoyed it, but I also think having a second like we have to do one more thing would be kind of annoying because they already do that with the trivia game a little bit where they're like, and then we won and here's the credits, and then they're like, wait, we didn't actually fight her.
I also think after beating Grunty, I'm fucking done.
Yeah, 100%. I am not going back for any of that.
Yeah, she gets crushed by a big rock.
She gets crushed by it because it's a kid's game, so she can't die. So she falls into a Scooby-Doo body-shaped hole, and then has a rock fall on her.
Pretty good.
I did have one more little piece of trivia here that I wanted to throw out here because I think it's especially fun, but I forgot to throw it in when we were talking about Clanker. But before they decided to do Nuts and Bolts, they almost did a kart racer called The Fast and the Furriest.
That's fun.
Yeah. And they showed off concept art for it, again, in Rare Replay. That's where a lot of this trivia comes from.
Sure.
Because they were like, here are some things that we tried. Yeah. And one of the levels includes, and I'll send you a picture of this, a track that goes through a hollowed out corpse of Clanker.
No! Oh no, he's so dead.
He's so dead. He's like a skeleton fish bones on.
It's literally
right.
It's literally like those big alien skeletons on Tatooine, but it's Clanker, the big shark.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's horrifying.
So the Fast and the Furriest was going to be a game where you like played as all the different rare characters. So it was going to be like Banjo and Kazooie and Cameo and the guy from like Jet Force Gemini or whatever, and like all these other characters. And they showed off a couple of the tracks, and that was just one that they just kind of casually rolled past in the video. And I was like, whoa, go back. Wait, hold on a second.
And just don't worry, children. We killed your nightmare.
We killed the nightmare. He's gone now.
He's gone. He's been slain.
Never hurt you again.
That's awful, but I kind of love it. But it's awful.
It's a fun thing, but also the worst. I agree completely. So I think we're kind of at the end here.
Before we wrap it up, we want to quickly talk about Stop and Swap.
Yes, sorry, I always forget about Stop and Swap because it ended up not really being a thing.
Because it doesn't exist.
Because it does not exist. If it is not in the Jedi Archive, it does not exist.
So, apparently what it was, because lame Xbox players over here never really
it didn't work until the Xbox version.
It was a thing that they were going to put in because there was like an exploit, I guess, with like the RAM on the 64 that they thought like, hey, we can mess with this, and then we can be able to have people like collect this thing in Banjo and then use that to get something in Tooie or vice versa or whatever. But then Nintendo wrote Rareware and was like, hey, we heard you're doing this thing. Don't do that.
Don't do that because it will be bad for the console. I'm pretty sure was what it came down
to. Yeah.
It's like you will break it. You have like a second to swap these cartridges out, and kids will break this.
Exactly. So then they brought it back as a fun little thing in the Xbox version where It's not for TUI though. It's for Nuts and Bolts,
Yeah,
where you collect the stuff here, and then in Nuts and Bolts you get like a special car or a flag or something like that.
yeah.
But
Which
so
is neat, I
uh,
guess.
yeah, I don't really give a shit about that.
Yeah,
What it really comes down to is just like one final group of collectibles that you get on a couple of the worlds. So
yeah.
there's like
It's a neat
what
thing. I do think
five
it's
eggs, six
weird.
eggs.
Yeah, I do think it's weird that it still ended up in the final version of the game completely unfunctional.
Yeah, they're just like, oh well.
Where they're like, "Thing, you just go ahead and collect this thing. Whatever. What does it do? Nothing." But it was good that you threw that in there. But now that we're down to the bottom, I asked you to come up with sort of a review score for this, because this is
Yeah.
something I want to like find a way to sort of like rank these games as we go through. So
hmm
from the perspective of somebody playing Banjo Kazooie, a game from 1998 in 2024,
hmm
what are you thinking? 1 to 10.
So this is I'm a little boy in 1998 listening to everybody. Everybody.
Everybody. Yeah. Well, to be fair, I when I chose mine, I reviewed it from modern day, but
Ah.
you can do whatever you want.
Well, I think I'm just gonna say, to me as me
Mm,
playing this game,
yeah.
any time doesn't matter. And we said we were going score out of 10.
Yeah. So we're using sort of the normal IGN type score, where a 10 is a masterpiece, 9 is amazing, 8 is great, 7 is good, 6 is okay, 5 is mediocre, 4 is bad, 3 is awful, 2 is painful, and 1 is unbearable.
How do we? This is the first episode, and we're
This is the
already
first
breaking all the
episode.
rules. How do we feel about decibel points?
I am fine with them. I think that I will personally probably only use fives, but you can use whatever you want.
Well, yeah, because I'm thinking Banjo Kazooie, and I'm trying not to be like too biased because I love this game.
Mm-hmm. That's fine. You can be as biased as you
I
want. This is our review.
I think well, okay, but what I mean is, and it's important that you get to know this about me if you're going to be listening to me rank shit on this show.
Fair.
Um, I I don't. It's not like I love this game, this movie. I grew up with it. 10 out of 10.
Mm.
I don't do that. I try to be like tens are hard to get, and on the flip side, so are ones. Like I'm not. I don't
Oh, for
like
sure.
hyperbole.
Well, and probably when we're going back and because we're not replaying every game from every year, we're probably not going to play a lot of ones or like
That's
even
true.
below like a five.
Unless we specifically go out of our way to be like, this is one of the worst things ever made. Let's
There
check
is,
this out.
and I will mention it here and then not mention it again until we get there. There is a game that came out on 9/11 that we are going to play, and it's bad.
That's like an ominous threat you
I will
just hit
never
me
mention
with.
it again, and everyone
Okay.
except some fans will forget that I said this, and then we'll get there,
Okay.
and they'll be like, "Oh my
Okay.
god."
Okay. I'm leaning towards an 8.5.
Okay, yeah. So that would be
Um,
between great and amazing.
yeah, it's like great plus.
Yeah.
Um, because I don't want to use the word dated because I still feel like in 2024 this game plays really well, but it is an older game, so I don't know.
100%.
Great at character designs, pretty great level designs, even though some of them are evil and fall off a lot. The platforming is 90% really good. There's a couple things later game which leads to you falling off the tree in Click Clock Wood, like those like little leaves and stuff. Which like, how am I supposed to land on this? Um,
Yeah. Especially when it's a
uh,
PC. Ugh.
yeah, great music, great worlds, great vibes. Vibes go a long way with me. I think an 8.5, which technically could round to a 9, but I don't know.
I think that's completely fair, and honestly I think I'm pretty close to you. For me, this is a game where I think maybe if I played it as a kid, it would definitely be an 8.5 for me, because at the time that this game came out, it was probably like revolutionary. from what I understand from the reviews, most people are saying it's like Mario 64, but less annoying. That seems to, cause I read a lot of the reviews from back in the day, and they were basically like, hey, it's really annoying that when you play Mario 64 and you collect a star, you get kicked out of the world, and in this one you don't do that. And that seemed to be like a big selling point.
Yeah, sure. Good point.
So I think if I played it back then, I would have been at an 8.5 or a 9 or something like that. Right now, I'm not far off of that. I think that I'm at a 7.5.
Okay.
So I think it's between good and great, because there, like I said, there's so much of this game's personality and identity that is iconic, even down to the way characters talk is immediately recognizable, and like it's just a classic, right? It's one of those things where you could they prove it with the trivia game. You could take a screenshot of any part of this game and I'd probably be able to tell you where it's from, right?
Yeah, the screenshots were the easiest ones.
Right, like that's really indicative of like how strong the visual language of this game is, and I appreciate that a lot. But it is also very much a product of its time, where like we didn't really know how to make 3D games yet, and so swimming and flying feel really bad, and the platforming is good but not maybe great. You know, there's some things that we're going to learn later that are going to make it a lot better. A lot of the worlds are like really simple and kind of small, and it's like a lot of this is just a product of the time and the fact that they only worked on it for 16 or 18 months or whatever it was. And in that regard, it's really impressive. But I think when I look at the final product, like 30 years later or whatever we're at now, it's like, yeah, I think that's a 7.5 for me, which would make our aggregate score an 8, which I think is perfect.
Yeah, it's good. It's if you're one of the 2 people out there that have never played Banjo, I'd recommend it.
I would too. Yeah, I think it's really fun. I think as long as you go in sort of knowing that it is an older game and like being appreciative of that, I think you're gonna have a good time.
For the record, I would just recommend the Rare Replay. That's a great, huge collection for the price.
Absolutely. My only negative with that is that like you have to install all the games separately. That can be kind of a pain.
That's gonna give your system a panic attack. But
100.
Once you get past that, it's good. You can play Slalom.
You can play Slalom and Jet Force Gemini or whatever. But yeah, so that leaves our final score at an 8, which I think is very accurate. So now I have to figure out how to close this show out. This is going to be a little awkward. It's the first time we've ever had to do this. But if you are a fan of this show, watching this here, listening to this first episode, there are a couple things you can do to help us out. You can follow the show on Twitter at @RSR_pod. That's RSR_POD. You can follow me on Twitter at Daniel J. McG. That's Daniel J. MCG. You cannot follow Skyler on Twitter because he has very smartly avoided social media like the plague, and he is right to do so. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, where we will be uploading the audio of these at Ready Set Replay. And you can follow and review us on all of your favorite podcast services, whichever one you are not currently listening to or watching this on or whatever. And if you have a podcast service that you prefer and we are not on it, leave a comment in whatever place you did find us, because clearly you're hearing me talk right now, and let us know that we're not on it so that I can try and get us there as quickly as possible. We're starting this out, and we're hoping that this becomes a thing that we can do for a good long while, and you guys supporting us and especially reviewing it on podcast services really helps us get into the algorithm fast. So thank you in advance for doing all of that. And until next time, we'll see you around.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
The game's just starting, the world's so bright. Jump right in, everything feels right. Let's play, take a trip back in time where pixels and